percaya takkan ada batas untuk mimpiku bergerak, belajar, tumbuh jadi pelita, terangi langkah ceria. Tempat aku membuka mata, mengenal indahnya dunia, melangkah bersama, berkarya untuk Indonesia. Bangga jika jadi sekolah kita. Disinilah tempat mata hatiku terbuka, takkan ada hati belajar bila tak bisa menjadi arti untuk sesama, temani langkah mulia. Tempat aku membuka mata, mengenal indahnya dunia, melangkah bersama, berkarya untuk Indonesia. Bangga jika jadi sekolah kita. Jadilah warga dunia, pribadi bahagia, ajak hati belajar merdeka. Asahlah dirimu menjadi berdaya, buka hati dan mata, cerdas bermakna, rumah kedua kita. Tempat aku membuka mata, mengenal indahnya dunia, melangkah bersama, berkarya untuk Indonesia. Bangga jika jadi sekolah kita. Membuka mata, mengenal indahnya dunia, melangkah bersama, berkarya untuk Indonesia. Bangga jika jadi sekolah kita. Bangga jika jadi sekolah kita.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today in the third session of the Year 10 Personal Project Exhibition. My name is Velia, and I will be here as your MC for yet another exciting and hopefully entertaining session. To start, Personal Project is a program part of the MYP where students can develop skills and learn through their projects that they've chosen based on their own interests. As you can see here on the screen is a very powerful sentence: live your passion, inspire the world. This interesting concept is the chosen theme for this year's Personal Project Exhibition, and I am excited to say that today, by taking a look at a few very cool personal projects, we will explore this theme and also the sub-theme of equality by raising awareness. On that note, I would like all of you to meet 4 of our friends who in the past few months have worked hard on their personal projects, all inspired by their own interests. Joining with us today is Damien with his project, A Look into Para-Athletes and Disabled Athletes. Hi, Damien.
Hi.
Hi, all right. And we also have Ayala with the project, What It Takes to Be a Professional Footballer. Hey, Ayala.
Hi.
Next up, we also have Tisha. Tisha here made a project titled Semua Setara. Hi, Tisha.
Hi.
Hi, and we also finally have Azra with her project titled Not Your Normal Methods. Hi, Azra.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, all right. Now that you've met everybody, let's start our discussion. So, did you guys realize that today we have not just one, but two people who chose to do sports themed projects? And yeah, let's get right to it. First up, we have Damien. Would you like to tell us a bit about your project, a look into para athletes and disabled athletes?
Yes, so my project is a look into para athletes and disabled athletes. Um, the project is a documentary on that subject. I wanted to do it because of my passion for sports, specifically football, and also through learning about para athletes through my friend who is a disabled athlete or has ADHD. And through this documentary, I wanted to raise awareness and spread the achievements that disabled athletes and para athletes were able to attain, and hopefully inspire people and the youth in my community. And for me to achieve this and look if it's successful or not is to look at the technical aspect and the performance aspect. For technical, I look at how good the editing is, whether or not my narration is comprehensible, how long the video is, and if I was able to send out my message or not. And for the performance aspect, I look at how many views it got. I aimed for a minimum of 150 views, and as of 7th April 2022, the video has garnered over 171 views. So for the production, I first started on the investigation stage. This is what I researched about topics I wanted to know about, like how do I interview someone with a condition, because it is a very sensitive topic for them. And so I wanted to know how to approach it without offending them. And then also I want to know what makes a good documentary. And from there, I tried to research as much as I could through articles, videos, and yeah, things like that. After that is footage and the interview. So during interview section, I wrote down questions that I wanted to ask. In the square now, there's two, one in English, one in Indonesian. So I decided to interview two people. One of them could speak English and one of them couldn't. And so I had to translate the question. And also, since one of the interviewee is very shy around new people, and so uh, they have their mother to speak most of the time and try to act as their, I guess, translator. And after I make all the questions that I wanted, I interviewed them. On the top, there is Hadi and his mother. I interviewed them offline on their home, in their home. And the second one is on the bottom, Austin. I couldn't meet him, and so we interviewed through Zoom. After that, I went on to do the script. The script acts as my outline, and it includes my narration and explanation of my topic. I also decided that I wouldn't follow the script one to one, and during parts I will try and improvise because I wouldn't want to sound too robotic. So it acts more as a guideline or an outline. After that, I did my voiceover and more recording. Voiceover is where I do my narration and me talking and explaining things, and also I also recorded me personally when I'm explaining who I am, what my project is. Then I also took in, I guess, stock footage of footage from YouTube, articles, and other places for to show people in the video what I'm talking about. And then the final part is editing and publishing. This is by far the most grueling process. During editing, I put in the music. I put where the footage will be in the specific orders. I will check whether the audio is good or not, whether it's too high or too low. And yeah, after that, I finished the video and I published it on YouTube. So during this whole thing, I used to mainly to use two ATL skills, which is communication and research. I used research during the beginning part, during the investigation part mostly. Um, And I used communication throughout my process, whether I'm talking to my mentor, talking to my friends for help, or talking to my interviewees. And then to my challenges, I faced many challenges during the making of my project, both internally and externally. For internally, the main problem would be time management and procrastination. At first, it went well. Everything was going as scheduled and as planned. But as time goes on, I started procrastinating, and due to that, I started having time management problems. And also didn't help that one of my interviewees' agents were unresponsive and pushed my schedule back. It made me fall behind on my timeline. For external challenges, there was also the aforementioned problems with the agents, and also I had very limited amount of experience for editing, and so trying to figure how to edit things out, figure how to edit things, and all that was very long and very hard. And then there is the impact and sustainability. For the impacts, personally, I was able to understand deeper the journey and the struggles of para athletes and disabled athletes. I was able to motivate myself and reflect on myself on what to do next by looking at how determined they are about what they want to do in life. And community wise, I feel that my video was able to make people understand the struggles and the journeys of these athletes and how good they are. About sustainability, I feel that just by the video being on YouTube, without it being taken down, I feel that by time the YouTube algorithm will push the video out, and hopefully more people will push it, because I stopped promoting my product as soon as it hits 150 views, and I think after a month it hit I think like 20 more people watched my video, and so I hope by time as more time goes on, more people will watch my video. And that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Damien, for sharing. I think that the fact that we now know about the process and story behind your project, it makes it even more inspiring. So, quick reminder before we talk about Damien's project: if anyone in the audience joining our discussion wants to ask any questions, please write it in the live chat, and we will gladly answer them in the Q&A session towards the end. Don't forget to write your name, your question, and also who the question is for. Okay, so let's talk a bit about Damien's project.
So I think Damien's project was really awesome and I think really impactful and so interesting because he was talking about para athletes and disabled athletes. So Damien, you could say that this project raises awareness by tackling mindsets, the stigmas, and also stereotypes, right? So I was wondering, prior to this project, what was your initial view on para athletes?
So I first learned through what para athletes are during the 2018 Asian Games that happened in Indonesia. And so during those time, I did watch a few matches, whether it be football or water polo. And I think during those times, there was the Paralympics showing up after the fact. They were on TV or people talking about it after. And so through there, I understood that, oh wow, these people are so cool. They're very talented. And I think my views were that, yeah, those were my views.
Thank you. I don't think I watched the Paralympics, but yeah, now I think I wish I did. So, talking about frame of minds, I'm sure as a project that surrounds and focuses on these para athletes, the people you interviewed, the people who were featured in your project, must have felt a certain way about it. How would you say your interviewees, the athletes, responded or reacted to your project? What were their opinions?
So before I publish the video, I have to send the video to them so that if they have any problems with it, I have to cut it out. But the general reaction is that it's very positive. They really liked it, and some even sent it to their teams. So yeah, it was very, very nice to hear.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you, Damien. As I said before, besides Damien, we also have Ayala, who did a project about professional athletes, specifically pro footballers. And as we know, football is a very common sport in Indonesia. I'm sure everyone is a little curious to hear about your project, so maybe you could tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so this is my project. What it takes to be a professional footballer. All right. So my personal project is a three-part video series on what it takes to be a professional footballer. Football has always been the thing that interests me the most since I was a kid, and being a professional footballer has always been a dream of mine. And I want to find out what it takes to be a professional football player through with this project. And making a video series would also help kids that want to go pro understand what it takes to go pro as a footballer. My goal for this project is to share my knowledge with the kids that want to go pro as a footballer and also help inspire them. And I also want to raise awareness regarding the state of what Indonesian football currently looks like. So the issue is there's two main issues with Indonesian football right now that I will be covering throughout this project. And the first one is there's talent in Indonesia, but there are not enough coaches to maximize like the potential, and that's why I did an interview with a football expert. And the second issue is nutrition in Indonesia. Football or sports in general isn't really taken seriously, so that's why I interviewed a sports nutritionist. So creating the product, the first thing I did was research, and the things I researched about was, you know, like the about iMovie first of all, because I didn't have any prior knowledge on how to edit, and after I researched, I finally understood how to make a well-structured video. The other part I researched was the important factors in being a pro. Researching this is really important as it's the main topic that I'll be covering throughout my project, and it also determines who I will interview and what questions to ask. And I also watch YouTube videos similar to my like a sort of video series, so I can take an example. I can take it as an example. Second part is filming. I did 3 interviews. The first one was with Coach Aldi, the expert, and I met him throughout in real life, and it was really easy to cooperate with him, and the interview went really well. The second was with Dr. Luis Kartika. She's a physician nutrition specialist. We did the interview via Zoom, as we couldn't find any free time for her to do the interview. And the last one was with Kak Bayu Guntoro. He's a professional footballer, and the interview was done in real life. I met him in his training ground. And the third one is editing and publishing. After I got all the footage and recorded all the interviews, I had to convert the file type because it wasn't compatible with iMovie. And I got all the stock footages. And I also needed to match the audio and video, as I recorded the video and audio from 2 different devices. And after I finished recording my voiceovers and editing the videos, I uploaded all 3 of my videos on YouTube as planned. So I faced a couple of different challenges, and one of them being my time management. I procrastinated a lot, and it didn't help me, because at the end it come back to haunt me, as I didn't 2 of the 3 videos didn't reach the target amount of views because I didn't have enough time to promote it because I procrastinated too much. And the other challenge I faced was getting in contact with the professional football player. I got in contact with him, but he had a very busy schedule as his season was still ongoing. Luckily, I found a replacement, and I got to do the interview with the professional football player. The 2 ATL skills, communication skills, and research skills. I applied these communication skills when I got in contact with 3 experts. I also, when I plan out the interview so the whole interview runs smoothly, I also used skills during the interview, as I needed to make sure the conversation we're having is engaging and clear. All in all, I apply my communication skills from making initial engagements with the experts and arranging our schedules. Second one is research skills. It's definitely a skill that I use a lot, as before the project I didn't really have like prior knowledge in making a proper well-structured video series. And after that, I did really well. And I also created the other part was research was the important factors of being a pro. Researching this is important as it's like majority of my project is covering this topic. Reflection. I learned a lot during and after this project, not just about the project itself, but everything to do with it, working independently, developing my research skills, self-management, communication, and collaboration skills, and also learning how to edit a video series using iMovie. So I'd say this whole project has positively impacted me, even if there were stressful moments where I doubted myself. I feel like the things I've learned throughout this whole entire project have outweighed the negatives. So I was happy with the end result. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for sharing, Ayala. I think it's great that in the video series you also included a part dedicated to nutrition. Very interesting. So let's chat a bit about your project. I think that with football, little kids are seen playing it everywhere in Indonesia, but there is a certain view or stigma about turning this hobby into a profession.
Yeah, so some parents might say that it doesn't really pay or that it's not a good career path. But throughout this project, did you actually find anything related to the stigma that being a professional footballer doesn't really pay or doesn't really give you enough wage?
Yeah, I mean, I asked the football expert, and he explained that I think it was the case in the past, but I don't think that's the case right now. As like League One in Indonesia gets paid really well, but I mean to reach that level, to reach high level of football, you need full support from the people around you. So yeah.
Ayala, so you interviewed many experts, right? There's probably lots of room to get inspiration from, and with what they shared with you. From everything that you learned from them, is there like one thing in particular that inspired you, or like gave you a new insight, or something that you just can't seem to get out of your mind?
Yeah, there's like this one quote from the third interview I did, and it's not necessarily like it didn't inspire me, because he said the scariest thing a footballer can face or an athlete in general face is injury, and I've never really thought about it as imagine you're an up and coming star, you have all the potential and ability, one injury can change the whole trajectory of your career. So yeah, I mean I haven't really thought about that, but after the football, because he experienced the same thing, so yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing, Ayala. So we've already chatted with two people who promoted awareness in the field of sports. Now we have Tisha, who promoted awareness using fashion. Tisha, would you mind sharing a little bit about your project?
Sure, I don't mind at all, Felia. So, hello everyone. My name is Latisha Davina Effendi, or also known as Tisha for short, and my personal project is called Swastara. So, the first thing that I thought of when it comes to my personal project is to think of the issue. I wanted the issue to be something that people really need to know, or as you can say, an issue that isn't talked about enough. I also wanted the issue to be something that I'm passionate about as well. So, after quite a while, I thought of gender inequality as my issue. But since gender inequality is a broad topic, I specifically chose gender stereotypes and traditional roles. I chose that as my issue because the issue isn't talked about enough, which in evidence a lot of people are still making comments related to gender stereotypes and traditional gender roles. I've seen these from the media, hearing other people's experiences, and my own experiences. I realized that this has become a big issue and it leaves a huge impact on people, such as causing traumas, limiting people from expressing themselves, and so on. So therefore, I created Swastara. So in case you guys are wondering, I named my personal project Swastara because Swastara means equality for all in Indonesian, which is actually the goal of my personal project. And I'll be talking about the goal in the next slide. So the goal of my project is to educate and raise awareness among people about gender stereotypes and traditional gender roles. So for further details, I created Instagram content where I educate people by discussing the definition of gender stereotypes and traditional gender roles, along with the examples, what it looks like in real life, the impact it leaves on people, and how to prevent the problem from happening. In addition, with my interest in business, I decided to create and sell clothing items that aim to promote gender equality as well as a campaign tool. And I chose an Instagram account as the form of my personal project because I've seen organizations and people talk about social issues through Instagram, and not to mention I've also seen people create their own business and use Instagram as their main platform, along with how my target audience uses that application on a daily basis, which made me inspired to choose an Instagram account as the form of my personal project. I also aim to promote my personal project to all genders from age 12 and above, because in my opinion, kids that are age 12 are mature enough to understand about this issue. And I also chose to promote it to all genders since I think that it's best for all genders to understand this gender inequality issue. Here is also a picture of the Instagram account on the right side. So when it comes to planning out my personal project, I wanted to create a project where it revolves around my interests and the things that I like. And those includes business, which is actually something that I'm planning to pursue on in the future, along with community service, and where I enjoy helping others, and last, being passionate about gender issues. So after planning, I did an investigation where I looked for both primary and secondary data. I interviewed experts where I interviewed 2 business owners with quite a huge following on Instagram. I also looked for inspirations for the Instagram post along with the clothing items since I want to make sure that my audience would buy it or enjoy it. And then I also researched for the Instagram content since it heavily revolves around researching, as well as searching for the clothing printing store. So after investigation, I had action where I obviously organized the writing for the Instagram content by paraphrasing and summarizing in order for my audience to understand about the issue clearly and easily. Next, there's designing the Instagram post in order to attract more people to follow and simply look through the Instagram account, along with making the designs of the clothing items. Even though I didn't stitch the clothes by myself, I still needed to design the clothes on my own since I am the one who understands the issue of the project and what I'm trying to go for. Lastly, we have a reflection where I reflected about the personal project. So one of the reflections would have to be the challenges. And the challenges that I faced were time management and procrastination, along with lack of confidence, where I was unsure with the Instagram content along with the designs, which led me to procrastinate even more and losing motivation easily. And that is it for my personal project presentation. Thank you. Back to you, Feliet.
All right, thank you, Tisha. Man, it's super interesting to spread awareness through, clothing. I never would have thought of that. Okay, so let's talk about your project then. So, Tisha, I saw in the, I think, third post of your Instagram account that an example of gender stereotypes and roles is the mindset that girls are expected to be well-behaved, while it's accepted and maybe excused when boys sort of act out. And we might have heard this a lot when we were children. So I was wondering, how do you think we can let go of common stereotypes like this one? And what is there to do for us to move on from them?
Okay, thank you for the question. So based on my research, the best way to prevent these stereotypes from happening is by further educating people and raising awareness about this problem. And other than that is to speak up whenever you see like sexist comments.
Yeah, so I agree with Felia that this project is pretty awesome that you're raising awareness about gender stigma and also gender stereotypes. So amongst all of those stigmas about gender roles and also stereotypes, what stigma or stereotype bothers you the most?
Okay, good question, Azra. So, one of the stereotypes that bothers me the most is when people say that men are stronger and smarter than women, which I think isn't true at all because I believe that both men and women are made equally and that both men and women are equally as smart and strong.
I mean, yeah, I think so too. We're all equally smart and strong. So thank you, Tisha. Next up, we have our last awesome project with the topic of math by Azra. I'm really curious, actually, how did you create a project based on math, possibly one of the most dreaded subjects? Can you share a bit about your project, Azra?
Yeah, of course, I would love to. Okay. All right. Okay, so it's still loading, sorry. Okay. Hello, everyone. So today I'm going to present briefly about my personal project titled Not Your Normal Methods. So before we start the session, I just want to share out a quote so we can all refresh our minds to the topic of education since we already went through the fascinating topic of sports, gender stereotypes, and now to probably one of the most, like Felia said, dreaded subject, math. So before we start, I just want to share this quote to everyone because I think I wholeheartedly agree with it that education is not a problem, but education is an opportunity, quoted by the 36 US President Lyndon B. Johnson. So hello everyone. My name is Naira Azra Senen, or you can call me Azra. So in this session, I will be presenting my project and also my journey stemming from the start leading to the end of my project, and also sharing my experiences and also views towards the current issues in education that I really personally think is worthwhile to share with everyone. So hopefully this session can bring benefit towards everyone. So enjoy. Okay, math, bold, math. Dun dun, the stressful word. If you hear math, do you feel stressed? Do you feel frustrated? Do you feel panic? Do you think about an exam that you had a bad score on? Or do you think about the upcoming exams? Do you feel all of these bad emotions? If you do, then, well, you're not alone because I, for one, and also probably millions of other students globally feel this way too. So what's the issue? So the issue that I'm talking about in my project would be about math anxiety. So math anxiety, otherwise known as math phobia, can be defined as experiencing feelings of panic and helplessness when asked to solve a mathematical task or problem. And actually, math anxiety doesn't stem from the student's hate or despise for the subject, but it's actually because of the fear that they have for the subject. And I'll show later on what that actually means. But basically, math anxiety is how a student negatively assess their abilities in mathematics. So you see, not one student is actually bad or can't do math or is not good at math. It's just the perception that they have about math. The perception that they are what they think, that they're bad at math, is what causes them to have a low performance in the subject. So actually, they have the potential to actually do good in math. So highlight the quote, afraid of making mistakes. So we all know that math is a subject where, unlike other subjects in school, math always has a fixed answer towards each question. And I think this fixed answer intimidates the students. So, afraid of making mistakes, sometimes students would make simple mistakes when solving given problems, leading them to the wrong answer, which causes their morale to decrease, or their self-efficacy, or probably their confidence in the subject to decrease. And basically, it's not fear towards mathematics, but it's building the fear of making mistakes in maths. And even though those mistakes are genuinely something they should embrace, since mistakes are the secret path to understanding mathematics and how it can be defined. And you can think of maths as a mnemonic for mistakes allow thinking to happen. And after this project, I really underestimated this, because mistakes actually really is the stepping stone to understanding the concept and also understanding how math actually works. So actually, math anxiety is caused from an old practice that we have in our school curriculum, which is teaching to the test. So teaching to the test is basically giving your students exams for math and wholeheartedly grading them from the test based on their abilities. And I don't think that's a fair curriculum. And based on the expert interviews that I have, all of them also didn't agree that teaching to the test is the solution to assess one's ability in maths. And this is due to two things. So students are taught math from a very young age, from grade school, preschool up till now, by a teacher who is obliged or is mandatory to teach math. So they're not really a person who is a professional at maths, and they probably don't have a distinct interest towards math. So they just teach because they have to, right? So no passion in teaching means no interest in learning, making the students feel, math is such a dull subject. Like, it's just about formulas. I don't even understand what it is and stuff like that. And another big problem to teaching to the test is memorizing solutions rather than learning the concept. So when you have a test, you would always memorize formulas, you would always memorize equations, but you would never really learn the concept on how that formula works, on how that equation works. Because as I think a lot of people have heard, mathematics is a language. And I've kind of underestimated that. So like a language, the way you perceive your reply or the way you perceive your sentences are what's important, right? And like maths, the way you understand the formula and the way you perceive the equations is what's important. And that's really the key to progressing yourself into understanding maths and also building an interest towards it. So basically, this is the cycle of math anxiety. So first, you have a negative math experience. Maybe you don't have interest on it at all. And because of that math experience, it triggers math avoidance, leading you to poor preparations for your project or test and leading you to a poor math performance. And that also accounts for another negative math experience. And it's literally a whole paradox that I have experienced before, definitely prior to this project, and also a lot of students have experienced. So that's why I sought out to do this project. So introducing Not Your Normal Methods. So Not Your Normal Methods is a digital guidebook with the goal to raise interest and also change the perspectives regarding mathematics of students and also academic learners alike. And the guidebook guides students in the world of recreational mathematics, learning basic arithmetic such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, algebra, geometry, and also daily life maths, all through a very new perspective using math tricks or math hacks. So the purpose and goal is to create an accessible digital guidebook regarding the topic of math hacks or tricks to further change and open positive perspective of students and also academic minds around the world or locally towards the subject of maths itself. So the challenges faced that when I did this project was actually two things. It was the investigation and the time management. So the investigation, I faced a huge challenge because the investigation phase is what took the longest to finish, because I had to literally learn everything and every math concept from scratch. And I never learned those concepts before. And this was a completely new world of math for me because it's recreational mathematics. It's not the type of maths that we learn in school. And I would like to show you guys my best friend in this personal project. It's my investigation notebook. It's literally the backbone of this project. It's what I put most of my time, most of my sweat, most of my motivation into. It is my investigation notebook, and it's a 4-chapter notebook that I used to practice, to write the steps, to understand concepts for over, I think, 90 plus math tricks. And anything that you can find in my product, in the digital guidebook, you could definitely find in this notebook. And it's pretty worn out because I use this book every night for over, I think, a month. So that was a pretty fun but also stressful time. And also another thing is time management, because the investigation phase was really long. I had to speedily draft the ebook, publish it, write the report, and prepare the exhibition, which is today, and it all went really fast. So the outcome of the project is that out of the forms of 52 people, 75% of them said that their perspectives change about maths, and 61.5% of them said that they liked maths better. So overall, as a reflection, I think the project was really awesome and I enjoyed it a lot. It was really memorable. I was able to gain new knowledge and grow new interests. I was happy that I got to try new things and also do this project. And I was really surprised and proud of myself that I was able to create an impact and write a book about a subject that I initially despised or disliked in the first place. So that's all for me. Thank you so much for listening in this session. If you have any questions or queries, feel free to put it in the chat, like Felia said, or contact me through my email or my WhatsApp number. And don't forget to check out our PPX gallery at the link there. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you too, Azra. I never knew there was so much to explore about math. You even have an investigation notebook for that. So cool project, cool book. Everyone should check it out. And so yeah, now let's chat a bit about your project.
Okay, so most people would choose a topic or field that they are interested in when it comes to doing their personal project. And you mentioned that you didn't quite like math, which I thought was super impressive of you to do. So how did you come up with a project and keep up with doing things related to something you initially didn't like?
Okay, so good question, Tisha. So yeah, I was actually pretty confused with myself too. Why did I do this project about maths in the first place? Because I never really liked it before. And that was actually because of one moment where I was actually sitting in bed and also scrolling through Instagram with my mom, and she showed me a video of these two students or two grade school students doing math tricks, and I thought that was the first time I actually thought that maths was actually cool. And then it stemmed from there actually, where I thought that, oh, I think I want to learn more about math tricks and math hacks and also recreational mathematics and how does it actually work. And yeah, here I am today, written a book about maths. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
So I guess that was like a life-changing moment then. So thank you, Azra, for sharing. I'd like to remind everyone again, if any of you joining us in the live stream have any questions for Azra or for Damien and Ayala and Tisha too, you can write them in the live chat. Make sure to write your name, your question, and who the question is for. All right, back to Azra's math.
I feel like this session wouldn't be complete if we didn't learn some math ourselves. Is there one simple trick that you can show all of us?
Yeah, of course. So I want to show you guys one trick that I think is pretty neat. It's a trick for multiplying by 11. So it's very easy trick. You can do it in your head, or you can just do it by writing. So it's multiplication by 11s. First, what we're gonna do is we're gonna write the 2-digit number here, and we're gonna write it like this, leaving a space in the middle. And this will be our hundredths digit for the answer, and this will be our ones digit for the answer. So how do we get this space filled? Well, it's pretty easy. All we need to do is just add both digits together. And what's 4 plus 2? That's 6, right? So our final answer is 462. So it's pretty easy, right? You could literally do this in a flash. Sorry for my handwriting, since I'm not using a pencil right now, but yeah. So you could actually do this in your head, like this too. 72 times 11. You know that 7 plus 2 is 8, so 782. That's your answer. It's pretty fast. You could do it in your head or you could do it while writing. It's pretty easy to do. But this doesn't apply for all numbers multiplied to 11. There is a special case where if the numbers you sum together, the two digits you sum together equates to a number that is more than 10, then there's going to be an extra step that you have to do, but it's not that hard, so don't worry. So we have 46, so we're gonna write 4, 6 with a space in the middle. And then we're gonna add 4 and 6 together. So what's 6 plus 4? It is 10. So we're gonna do 10, right? So we have a 2-digit number here. And we can't just write it in the middle like this. 4,106. That's too big of an answer. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the ones digit and write it in the middle. But we have this ones left. So what are we going to do about it? We're going to add it with the hundreds digit. So 4 plus 1 would equal to 5. And that's your final answer. 506. And that's it. That's pretty easy, right? So I think that's a pretty cool trick to share with everyone. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Azra. Wow, that was a cool trick. Coincidences like that in math are all really interesting. So yeah, thank you, Azra, for your mini math lesson. Also, thank you to Damien and Ayala and Tisha. I really enjoyed our discussion. And yeah, I hope everyone here did too. All right, so moving on to the Q&A with the audience. I'm sure that we weren't the only ones curious about each other's projects. I think now we can explore these projects a little bit more through the questions from the audience that are in the live chat. We have one here for Tisha. Were you worried to publicize your project on social media due to the controversial nature of your issue? What would you say to the people who ignorantly protest the goal of your project? So yeah, you can answer the question.
Okay, so thank you for the question. And to answer the question, I was actually pretty worried to do this personal project because some people are against the goal of my personal project. But however, I think that this issue is like happening a lot, like regularly. So that's why I didn't really care, and I just like went with it.
Okay, that's cool. I don't think we have any questions, but so if you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the chat box. But while we're waiting for questions, I myself didn't do this personal project, so I'm a little bit curious about it. What was the most interesting moment or thing that you had to go through throughout the process of this project? Maybe we could start with Azra.
Right. So, how can equality be achieved? Okay, so I think equality can be achieved in my field through the education of math curriculum globally. I think from my expert interviews that I did, most of the professors that I interviewed, they said that it would be more effective if children or students are not basically tested through the teaching to the test method, because that is unequal towards judging each student's ability in maths. Because in tests, I think a lot of students would also feel panicked, right, for the first time. And they're suddenly put into this pressurized environment where it's timed and you have to be able to answer all of it correctly. And most students, they can't keep calm when they're in that type of environment, right? So I think to achieve equality in the field of my concern matter, which is equality of students' education in mathematics, there should be a really big action to change the curriculum that we have now globally as a school. So yeah, that's my answer.
Okay, thank you. We also have another question here from Miss Evie. I think it's for everyone. How how can equality be achieved in the field of your concerned matters? For example, children's right and education, people with disabilities, sports, and gender. Who wants to go first? Maybe Damien can start.
Yeah, I can go first.
Okay.
I think mainly through since sports is also a in the entertainment field, I would say I think the best way is for I guess media to promote it more, and also and I guess for I think government or like organizations um, to try to pay for facilities that would help the either the para athlete or para sports side, or for those that have disabilities.
Okay, thank you. What about Tisha?
So I think, in my opinion, we should talk about it more often. Maybe teachers should talk about it at school more often, along with promoting it on the media and etc.
What about Ayala? How do you think equality can be achieved in the field of sports?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I feel like um, I think people, like, regardless of their background, they should get uh, they should get treated equally, and that's why I created this project. I want to share my knowledge with the people that are maybe less fortunate and can't get the knowledge of what it takes to be a pro footballer.
Okay, thank you. I think we have another question. This one's for Azra. Did you use any of these math tricks in your current studies? And how efficient are they compared to the traditional methods taught in class?
Okay, so yes, I did use these math tricks in my current studies. There's actually a worksheet that one of my teacher gave, and there was a problem that I think I worked on and studied on in my project. And when I saw that problem, I instantly used the math trick, and it was pretty easy to decipher. And I think that's one of the moments where I thought, wow, this is actually a pretty cool thing to learn about, because you get to do maths way more faster than using the traditional methods. And that proves on how they are way more efficient than traditional methods. But traditional methods are definitely more important than math tricks, because traditional methods teaches you the basis on how the math trick actually works, or on how the problem can be solved completely. So using the math tricks definitely is more efficient, but learning the traditional methods first prior to learning the math tricks, I think, is way more important than just learning the math tricks, because if you just learn the math tricks, you wouldn't really know what's going on. So yeah.
Thank you. We have another question for you too, actually. What or when was your worst experiences with math anxiety? Do you think there are any specific math topics that tend to cause stress most often?
Okay, so yeah, what my most worst experience with math anxiety? Well, it happened, I think, whenever there's going to be an exam for maths, definitely. But the worst one was actually, I think it was in middle school, where there was going to be an upcoming unit test for my math subject. And as I explained earlier, that the cycle of math anxiety, that I didn't when you have a negative math experience, you tend to stray away from the subject, or you procrastinate and don't study the subject at all. And that's what I did. And when I did my unit test, I completely blanked out, and I did not know how to do any of the questions. But weirdly, when I also studied and prepared for it, every time I do another test, it also makes me blank out. So either studying and also not studying for the test, that really made me have a big anxiety towards math, because I thought, oh, there's no way I'm getting through this, because even if I study or even if I don't study, I would still blank out nonetheless. And for specific math topics, I think it would be different towards everyone, but I think for me personally, it would be causing stress is probably the math topics that you had to memorize a lot of formulas, such as geometry, because that's very specific on using formulas. And when you blank out in a test, you would you would know what those formulas are, right? So that's a pretty scary experience for me, but thankfully I've overcome it because of this project. So yeah, that's both of the things that I had my worst experience in, and the subject that really caused me the most stress in math.
Okay, thank you. I think we have one more question. In the previous question, you all mentioned that media could play a big part in equality. How will you contribute to the media to achieve this equality mentioned? I think this is for everyone. So who wants to start? Maybe Ayala can start with this question. How can media, yeah.
Personally, I feel like if you have like big name, if you are like well known, your voice is gonna be heard. But if you are a student, it's not easy to get your voice out there. But with me trying to make this YouTube video and sharing my knowledge to people out there, to everyone actually, is definitely a start.
Okay, thank you. What do you think, Tisha?
So in my opinion, I think I can start by like making content again. It can be in a form of like video or anything like that. And even though I'm just like a normal student, I think that we can all start to do it.
How about Damien? What do you think about this?
I think the best way is to, I guess, retweet or repost a certain like news. For example, with my topic about para athletes, when there's like an event happening or a certain thing happen, I think we can always retweet or like just or repost it on Instagram, even though you have maybe a small name like 100 or so followers. I think it's it still gains activity, and I think by just reposting or retweeting, it's the best way to achieve equality through media.
And lastly, Azra, how do you think we can achieve equality through media?
Yeah, so I agree with Tisha and Damien and also Ayala about all of their points. That like Ayala said, that I think the issue would be most heard if you are the person who has a big following or who has a certain impact towards the community. But like Damien said, reposting and also retweeting and also sharing anything that's related to the issue would also gain some momentum in your media platform, and people would be more interested because you're pouring out more content for them, right? And they can share towards their friends and or family, and it would also grow kind of like a following for you too. But I think it's also important to also make sure that your voice through the media reaches the people who has a big following, because if it does reach them, then the message would spread more, and it would continue to build this kind of what do you call it, effect towards everyone, that they would know the issue better and then continue to be more aware about the issue and build the equality eventually. So yeah.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I think the conclusion is we need to keep on spreading awareness through media. So this is it for the Q&A session. Thank you everyone for all the questions. Sadly, we only have 1 hour for our session and we have to say goodbye. So thank you so much everyone for joining us today. It's very much appreciated. I hope you learned something new or were inspired by today's discussion. Once again, thank you and hope everyone you have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Disinilah tempat ayah ibuku percaya takkan ada batas untuk mimpiku bergerak, belajar, tumbuh jadi pelita, terangi langkah ceria. Tempat aku membuka mata, mengenal indahnya dunia, melangkah bersama, berkarya untuk Indonesia. Maka Cikal jadi sekolah kita. Disinilah tempat mata hatiku terbuka, takkan ada hati belajar bila tak bisa menjadi arti untuk sesama, temani langkah mulia. Tempat aku membuka mata, mengenal indahnya dunia, melangkah bersama, berkarya untuk Indonesia. Maka Cikal jadi sekolah kita. Jadilah warga dunia, pribadi bahagia, ajak hati belajar merdeka.